printed chipboard banner. I'm using these pre-cut chipboard letters that I sell in my Etsy shop, or if you're here in the studio, you can cut them out on the die cut machine. The first thing that we want to do is get them primed, because if you try to paint them straight away with acrylic paint, it's going to soak in and you're going to need a couple coats. So let's get started. First thing you need is some gesso, and I'm using a scraping tool to apply it just to get a nice thin coat on. I believe this is Hope. So let's start with the first letter, and for the sake of getting this done, I'm probably just going to do the one letter. But you do want to put this on both sides, because once you get the gesso in to the chipboard, it's going to make it curve. So I've got a second coat of paint on here, and now we're ready to add the decorative flowers. So I'm starting with a 5-inch circle of music paper. You can use any kind of paper you want, lightweight paper. I wouldn't try to do this with cardstock. And into this I'm going to cut roughly a finger width as I'm coming around and creating a spiral. So if I were to put my finger on here, it's about as wide as my finger is. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just trying to keep it somewhat even. And I end up with about a quarter size end here. The next thing I want to do into this spiral is pinch the edges outward. So this is the outside edge, and I'm just going to pinch with my fingers so that I'm creasing that edge outward. I'm going to come all the way around the spiral. And I'm going to start at the end, the tail end, and I'm going to start coiling this inward. This curve is going to the outside, and I'm coiling the spiral starting at the tail and coming towards the center. And I'm pinching it in between my two fingers like this, keeping it stacked so that it's not getting out of alignment, keeping it stacked between my two fingers. Just an X of hot glue, and then I'm going to set the rosette on top of that hot glue and tap it into place. Okay, you're going to do that a few more times, and that's what you're going to add to, if you want it. You don't have to have it. Let's just say I'm only going to add one here. I've got a bunch more here. When I sell these in kits in my shop, Made at a Work of Heart on Etsy, I sell a kit with each letter comes with 3 5-inch circles so that you can make potentially 3 rosettes. Here's the word joy. Hard to get it in on camera, but it's the word joy, and it's strung together top down, so the word goes in a long line. And at the top of this I have 3 rosettes. In the middle of this one I have 3 rosettes, and at the bottom of this one I have 3 rosettes. So the next thing we want to do is punch the holes and put the seam binding to connect the word. Again, on camera I'm only doing one letter, H. So this information is the same for all of the letters. So I'm going to punch a hole, a pretty small hole, You could do it a little bit larger. This is an 1/8 inch, it looks like. And then I'm just using plain white seam binding. You can dye this to add ink to it, to change it to whatever color you want. I'll cut it at an angle like this. Like if I wanted to color this up so that it matched this, all I'd have to do is put a little bit of this acrylic paint mixed with water and dip this in the watery mixture. But I kind of like the contrast because I've got the white rosette and I've got the white ribbon. So as I was saying, I cut it at an angle so that I can have something to poke through this hole and grab on the other side. So that would go to one side and tie between letters, or tie off if you're doing a longer word that you want to string side to side. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. These are great for doing people's names, like happy birthday or welcome, to hang up. These are 12 inches tall, and each letter differs depending on the size. But there you have a nice chipboard letter painted, and yeah.